Are you a project manager struggling to engage with your team, feeling like no one's listening to you, or feeling like you just can't get things done without a formal title? If so, this episode is for you. Welcome to Better Projects Today, the bite-sized project management podcast helping you to bridge theory and practice in your own work to create better teams, better results, and better projects today. I'm Tyler Norman, and I bring 15 years of experience as a global program leader and mentor. In my time as a program leader, I've worked across lots of industries, geographies, and different types of companies, different sizes, and one challenge consistently stands out no matter where I've worked. How do you lead teams without formal authority when they don't report to you, when they're not in your part of the org, and often when they outrank you in the formal hierarchy? How do you effectively get your job done in that setting? In this episode, we're going to talk through a handful of strategies to influence without authority, and there's going to be an overarching theme. Understand the landscape of your org. You have to understand the unique dynamics because unlike traditional hierarchical structures, project teams today are fluid. They comprise folks from various departments, and there's a lot of their own priorities in play. So it's important to remember your role isn't to command, but to coordinate those efforts, to motivate, and to align those diverse talents on your team. Let's get into the strategies. First things first, focus on building strong relationships. Project management is people business, really. All business is people business, but project management especially so. Early on in your time at a new org or in a new project, working with a new group, invest time in building relationships. Get to know your team members professionally, personally if possible. Understand their motivations, their challenges, what they value. If you take the time to create those genuine connections, it's going to foster trust, and that's going to intrinsically make others more receptive to your ideas and requests. The second strategy, communicate effectively. This is worthy of an episode in itself, but to summarize, clear, transparent communication is an absolute key. Set clear expectations early in the project around roles and responsibilities, and do everything you can to reduce confusion inside the team, outside the team, related to your project. If there are common projects that your team members are heavily overlapped with, be clear there. Next, articulate the project's vision early, often, repeatedly. Make sure that every member of your team understands the objective, how it aligns with the organization's objectives, and what the benefits are, not just to the organization in itself, but also to that specific person. This is where the acronym WIFM comes into play. What's in it for me? When I coach new PMs, I always describe to them that every single meeting they walk into, they need to be able to understand what the WIFM is for the people in that meeting so that they can tailor their communication approaches to that. Practice active listening. Make sure your team can see that you care about what they have to say. Effective communication is more often knowing when to stop talking than knowing when to start. Lastly, understand that there are two parts to any message: what's communicated and who it's communicated by. As a PM, it's really common that the best way for a message to be communicated is by someone else, a business lead, an executive sponsor, so on and so forth. As PMs, we often want to do it all. We want to carry it. We want to do the work. Understand that often the message should come from you, but there are times in which it's better if it comes from someone else. Third strategy, demonstrate expertise and credibility. Establish yourself as a knowledgeable and reliable professional. When team members recognize that you have high competence in the key areas, they're more likely to respect your guidance. A key here, establish yourself as knowledgeable and reliable while also acknowledging the places that you don't have the most knowledge. A major part of credibility is knowing when you're the right person to make a decision or when you should make a statement and when you're not. Effective delegation is really key here. Stay informed, stay prepared. Credibility is also about delivering on your promises consistently and acknowledging if you miss something. Be honest and transparent, especially when you make a mistake. And then always maintain professionalism, especially when dealing with folks that are maybe having an off day. As the PM, there's a phrase I use again when mentoring newer PMs is that facilitators don't get to have a bad day. Obviously, we're all human. We're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. But when you are leading a group and they're feeding off of your energy, you need to work really hard to ensure that you don't come in with a bad attitude and pull the whole group down. Next strategy, leverage emotional intelligence. Massive, massive topic, but summing it up to make it simple, emotional intelligence is about being aware of and managing your emotions and those of others. This is so critical as a PM. This will be key in navigating conflicts, showing empathy, responding appropriate to various situations. If you demonstrate that you're someone who can keep your cool when things get a little bit heated, you're willing to, to quote Crucial Conversations, a great, great book that I highly recommend every PM read. Recognize when something's going a little bit south, pause the tactical conversation, step out of it, reestablish safety, and then step into the tactics. If you show that you can do that, that'll strengthen your influence and it'll make it easier in the future to have folks buy into the concepts that you're looking to bring them along on. Next strategy, negotiate and persuade diplomatically. Influence requires negotiation. As a PM, you're going to have to negotiate a lot. Present your case with logical reasoning, with benefits in a way that is objective. It doesn't look like you're trying to steamroll people to push, to pull wool over their eyes. Be prepared to come in with facts, find middle ground, and accommodate others' ideas. The absolute key here is be diplomatic. If you come in and try to fight fire with fire, you only give the other person the option of digging in. If you come in with diplomacy, you might be able to turn that potential resistance into support. Another quote I give folks that I mentor as new PMs is, if you ever walk away from a really heated argument feeling like you've won, you showed them, you put them in their place, I should say, that's a red flag. As a PM, you shouldn't be trying to win arguments regularly. Last strategy, celebrate wins and acknowledge contributions. Recognize the efforts of your team. Celebrate success, big and small. That's going to boost morale and reinforce positive behavior. It's also going to encourage continued cooperation. The absolute key here is, if you've ever heard the quote, celebrate in public, criticize in private. There's going to be times that you have to give uncomfortable feedback. Do that with the smallest group possible, preferably one-on-one. When it comes to wins, make that a big public thing to celebrate. Another piece is we, not I. One quote I'm really fond of when it comes to project managers is that PMs are like quarterbacks. You get more blame than you probably should when things go wrong, and you get more credit than you probably should when things go well. Take the blame yourself. As the PM, sometimes it's your job to be that the buck stops here person and you receive a little bit more blame than you probably should. Distribute the credit. Talk about your team. Ensure that they see that you're acknowledging how much work they put in to generate that success. Coming to a conclusion, influencing without authority is equal parts art and science, and it's a skill. It takes time. It's not something you're going to be able to do on day one, but if you take the efforts described in this episode, you'll shrink that learning curve and you'll find that folks well above you in the food chain are willing to listen, and that's a big step towards advancing as a PM. This brings us to the end of the episode. I hope you found value in this material and can apply it today in your own work. If you have questions you'd like to see addressed in future episodes, please comment below.